All right, so in example 4, you need to factor out the denominators first so we can find that least common denominator. So, can I do anything to the x minus 1? No. What about the x squared minus 1? Yeah, that's that difference of squares. So remember that tells us, I'm going to write it at the very top up there, that if you have two terms being subtracted that have square roots, you take the square root of each of them and you put it into the two parentheses, one having a plus, one having a minus. So, in this case, what's the square root of x squared? And what's the square root of 1? And one of the parentheses is going to have a plus, the other one's going to have a minus. And then can I factor x plus 1? No. Alright, so let's find that least common denominator then. So go through your denominators. Your first one has an x minus 1. We don't have anything written there yet, so we're going to have to put it. Put in parentheses because it's together because of the minus sign. And then check. Do we have an x plus 1 already? Nope, so you got to put that as well. Do you have an x minus 1 already? Yes, so you don't need to put it again. The only time you have to put it there more than once if it's in one denominator more than once, okay? And then check again. Do you have an x plus 1 already down there? Yes. So x minus 1 times x plus 1 is your least common denominator. Now, let's go find that domain so we have that restriction. So you're going to set that least common denominator equal to 0. Or not equal to 0, excuse me. Which means x minus 1 cannot equal 0 and x plus 1 cannot equal 0. So x cannot equal 1 and x cannot equal negative 1. So as long as I don't get 1 or negative 1 in my answer, I'm good. And so now we're going to take and we're going to multiply all three terms here by the least common denominator.
Good morning, Falcons.
So we're going to start multiplying now. So I did my first fraction times my least common denominator. Then there's an equal sign. My second fraction times my least common denominator. And there's a plus sign. And then that third fraction there times my least common denominator. Now I didn't realize, but the second time and the third time I wrote it, I switched my x plus 1 and my x minus 1 around. Does that matter? Not when we're multiplying. Alright, and then we're going to do our canceling. So my x minus 1's cancel. So I'm left with 2x plus 3 times x plus 1 equals, my x plus 1's cancel and my x minus 1's cancel. So I'm just left with that 10 plus my x plus 1's cancel. So I'm left with 2x minus 3 times x minus 1. So what do we do now? Foil. So let's do foil. I'm going to foil these two here first. I'm going to bring down my 10 plus, and then I'm going to foil those two. And then like before, let's combine like terms. So on the left, we have what, 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Oops. Equals. This one I have 2x squared. What's negative 2x minus 3x? Negative 5x. And then I have 10 plus 3, which is now what do we do? Yeah, get everything on one side. Set it equal to 0, right? Because we have x squared and x. So I'm going to subtract this 2x squared. Add the 5x. And subtract the 13. Ah, well look at this one. It ended up that the 2x squared is canceled, right? So, we're not going to have to factor. So, we're just solving for x now. What am I going to do? Add the 10. So, 10x equals 10. And we get x equals, is that my answer? Why not? Yeah, go back up there and check. You said up here in your restriction, x cannot be 1 or negative 1. So therefore, x equals 1 is not a solution. So what is my solution? There is no solution. Now, if I had a second answer, it would be that other answer, okay? But I don't have any other answer, so this one's just no solution.